On today's episode of the St. Louis Pain Expert Podcast, I'm talking with Dr. Sarah Spencer, a doctor of pharmacy who actually left the pharmacy profession altogether and has transitioned into holistic nutrition. She's going to tell us about some of the biggest common food mistakes that people make and some simple tips that you can start to use if you want to improve your nutrition. I hope you enjoy today's episode, and if you do, subscribe to our podcast so that you get notified of our upcoming episodes. Now, without further ado, on to the show.
You're listening to the St. Louis Pain Expert Podcast with Dr. Dave Candy, St. Louis's leading expert in chronic pain relief. Dr. Candy specializes in helping women age 40 and above to overcome chronic, nagging aches and pains without medication, injections, or surgery, so they can stay active, mobile, healthy, and independent. Whether you're suffering from pain yourself or know someone who is, pain's a universal experience that affects us all, but that doesn't mean you have to suffer. Knowledge is power, and having the right information can help you or someone you love get on the road to recovery. On the St. Louis Pain Expert Podcast, Dr. Candy talks with other pain experts from around the world to give you the information you need to recover, the peace of mind of knowing that you're not alone, and the hope that lasting relief from chronic pain is possible, and it doesn't require relying on pills, injections, or surgery in order to do so. So sit back, relax, and open your ears, mind, and heart, and let the healing begin.
Welcome to the St. Louis Pain Expert Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dave Candy. I have with me here today Dr. Sarah Spencer, who is a doctor of pharmacy, but she now actually has left the pharmacy field and gone into a holistic wellness approach. She's the owner of All Out Nutrition and Wellness, and I'll let her introduce herself a little bit more and just how she kind of made that transition from one extreme to another. So Sarah, thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me, Dave. I appreciate it. It's always interesting. So Dr. Sarah Spencer, I've been practicing as a nutritionist now for 10 years. It's been a really interesting journey, and every time I learn something new about how the body works, and then just compare it to my education as a pharmacist, it's quite interesting, the differences between the two, but also being able to help people understand what's going on medically and help them transition into that more holistic wellness type of approach. I was introduced to nutrition response testing, that's the modality that I use, via my chiropractor. So I was getting adjusted routinely 2-3 times a week. I had just moved to St. Louis, and he's like, you're not getting any better. I'm doing the same adjustments over and over. This just isn't how it's supposed to work. And he is a practitioner of the methodology as well. And so he's like, you need to try this nutrition. You need to do this. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. And so that went on for a while until it was just to the point where it's like, okay, he kept telling me this. Nobody had ever said anything to me about it before. But it really just started making sense. Like, why am I spending all this money getting adjusted, working on this, and just not getting anywhere? So we did the initial testing, and my big thing was like, I didn't want to have the same health outcomes as the rest of my family. We have diabetes, we have arthritis, we have heart disease. Those are the most common prevalent. And watching my grandparents struggle with the arthritis and those things and the heart and the diabetes, it wasn't something that I wanted for myself. I want to be that active, 80-year-old still out getting around. I don't want to be the 80-year-old in the nursing home. Right. And so that was kind of my I need to change where things are going, because the chronic back pain, the chronic neck pain, the migraines, the infertility, the digestive difficulty, just wasn't doing it for me. And somebody was presenting me with a solution. So I tried it. And laying on the table, I had this, I don't know, we were maybe 2 months in at this point. I just had this light bulb, literally bing, light bulb moment. I always laugh about it. And realized that, and I said it to him, I'm like, you're healing people. He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm not. And so that kind of sparked my impetus in jumping off and learning more and more about this. And it's just been a rocket ride, learning all the different pieces and how food and what we put in our bodies and on our bodies and in our environments is just, it makes such a big difference in how we feel and how we can progress and how good we look, you know?
Yeah, you've got an amazing story. And, for the first time we met, I was just astounded. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, becoming a pharmacist is not easy. What is it, 6 years of
6 years.
education?
Mm-hmm.
6 years of education. And then you come out making a pretty good starting salary as a pharmacist. So to leave that and start over and just kind of, shuck that whole 6 years of education and, start into something because you truly have a passion for it is an amazing thing. But you're doing great things. What are some common nutrition mistakes that you see people making? Like, if you had to name probably the three biggest mistakes that you see people making on an overall basis, what would some of those common mistakes be?
All the processed food is number one, right? We're going for those quick fixes. We're going for that, ooh, I just want to throw it in the oven. I don't want to do anything. I want to eat out all the time. The amount of processed food that we contain is astronomical. And I was just doing a coaching call before this, and we're to that point of kind of explaining like how to read labels and all of those things, right? And it's like, we were talking about bread. If bread can sit on the shelf for a month or more and be totally fine, there's a problem with that, right? Like, we're not trying to preserve our bodies, we're trying to nourish our bodies. So if the bugs won't eat it, why are we eating it? And she was just like, whoa, it's like, it's such a mind-blowing thing, because a lot of what we're advertised is all these quick, easy, whatever, but what people don't look at and read is all the ingredients that they have to add to it, and all the stabilizers and preservatives and this, that, and the other. And it tears up the body. Our body can't process all that stuff. I would say the second thing after that, it was just coming into me and now it left, but it had to do with all of that. I would say one of the other big things is all the grains that we consume, right? If you look back to, I'm going to go say indigenous cultures and whatnot, they go through a process of properly preparing grains so they're more digestible and things like that. Seeds are meant to protect what's inside until the optimum conditions arrive, and then it can produce a plant, right? It can produce life. So here we are consuming these things that still have all these, what we call anti-nutrients attached to them, right? And our body has to try to break those things down. It doesn't work well. And so learning how to actually prepare food so that they do provide life and don't tax the body is another big one. And then the other one is sugar. The amount of sugar that we consume is through the roof. And there's a health app that I use to help people track their foods. And the goals that they put together for people, I'm like, are we trying to give them heart disease and diabetes? Because these goals are what is going to produce that. So I love the app, but I always have to go in and change the goals for people, because it's just the standard recommendations just aren't doing what we need to do. We've been abused. Our food isn't the quality it needs to be. So it's like, if you want to live that older, healthier lifestyle, it's really important to look and like make those changes, because I was raised standard American diet. My mom made lots of food for us, but also breakfast was cereal. A lot of times I would put away a box of cereal in a day. How much sugar is that? She used Hamburger Helper and things like that. It's just like, they have a lot of chemicals in them. So knowing that the body, detox is important. So we got to help the body get those things out. And just the world we live in is a very toxic place. So we have to go take that extra step if we really want to have health.
Now, how do some of those food additives that you were just mentioning, how do they affect people's health, or how does their body process them, or attempt to process them anyway?
They don't. They hold on to it. A lot of times people will have like brain fog and digestive difficulties, heart issues and whatnot. And when we take those things out and put them on a more natural diet, some of those things will go away. We help the body eliminate what it's holding on to, so it can perform how it's supposed to. So I don't have like a specific, this causes this, because it's different for everybody. But a lot of the digestive pain, you'd appreciate this one. Pain is such a big one, right? people experiencing pain, and I have them take out some of these things. They're like, oh, I don't feel so bad. I'm not stiff in the morning and all these things, because the body's making deposits because it doesn't know what to do with it. So stop putting it in, help the body get it out. And a lot of times we can help reduce the pain and inflammation that a lot of people are experiencing.
Yeah, I mean, people with chronic pain, they not only have the pain, but the brain fog, like you were mentioning, or stress and anxiety and depression and all the emotions that go along with it. And it's amazing when people just clean up their diet a little bit, it does make a huge effect, from physical health, mental health, all the way around.
Totally.
So, what are some easily actionable tips that you would give to someone who wants to start eating healthier, but they just really don't know where to start?
The biggest, reach out to a health coach, somebody who can help start you on that path. That's a great opportunity. That's part of the reason I added in this coaching program, especially right before the pandemic, because people have questions. They're finding me, but I had to send them on to other health coaches and whatnot. And I still do, depending on where they're at. But at the same time, it's like people just need basic nutrition information, right? So basic data, read your packages. If it has more than 5 ingredients, don't buy it. If you can't pronounce it, don't buy it. Okay. Shop the perimeter, like stick to the produce and the meats. And a lot of people, frozen produce is usually okay, because we have a hard time getting in quality with the fresh and whatnot. So sticking to that perimeter, avoiding all the sugar, avoiding all the processed foods, that's going to make a huge difference for people.
And, I think a lot of people in general know that, eating McDonald's every day isn't good for them, or eating tons of candy and sugar isn't good for them, but, they're so easy. And when you're having a hard day, or you're busy and you got to drop the kids off at soccer or run from this event to the other event, how do you help people overcome those psychological barriers that, I know I should be doing this, but it's just so much easier to do that?
It's step by step. Big thing for me and my family is I cook in large batches and we eat leftovers. If you don't like leftovers, that makes it a lot harder. I'm not real sure what to say. I have one client who Fit Flavors has been a great addition for her. And we also have pure plates and things like that. If you need something quick to stop in that's already ready, use those things. Use some of the meal services. Basically I'm blanking on the exact name of the company.
That was it. Yeah, I thought that's what you were thinking of.
Yeah. So we have all these people out there who will help you transition into those things, but we're getting into that great time of year, crock pot, Instapot. We have all of these tools and these devices. It's just, yes, they can be scary, intimidating. Pick one thing and figure out how to do it. Learn how to cook. I don't know how to get around in this world without knowing how to cook, because unless you're going to eat, at some of the cleanest restaurants, for lack of a better way of saying that, and finding those restaurants, it's just, you're not going to be able to do it. So baby step, first step, make leftovers, and eat those.
Now, for people who are eating cleaner or things like that, where do nutritional supplements come into play? Do you try to mostly have people eat a whole food diet, or do you find some need for nutritional supplementation as well?
If you can see over here, right above me, I have an entire wall of supplements. And then there's some here, and there's even some right down there, and there's some on the bottom shelf too. So I'm very thankful that I have access to several different lines depending on what somebody needs. Because eventually we get to the point that the body does need help detoxing. There are foods that we don't want to eat sometimes. I'd rather take them in a pill form, or herbs and things like that, homeopathics. Adding in that supplementation that your body needs just takes you that much further, helps speed up the process. Some people will come to me when they've been doing a lot of these things, but they're like, I still have this and this. I'm like, great, let's see what you need. Sometimes it's helping them pinpoint, exactly what food or thing they're consuming that just they're not realizing yet. Or maybe they need digestive enzymes, or maybe there's a heavy metal or a toxic chemical that they just can't get rid of. I was a lifeguard. I love hour-long baths and showers and all these things, right? But my body cannot process chlorine very well. So adding in that filter for my drinking water, and I have to do a shower filter as well, just to help get that chlorine out. So, because when it's not, I start feeling that brain fog hitting and whatever, and it doesn't matter if I'm eating well or not, my body can't handle the chlorine. So adding in those quality supplementation when you need it is really interesting. I have some, they make me laugh. There's some people who love supplements, right? Those people, they carry around their bags of supplements. And a lot of what I try to do with them is sometimes people overdo the supplements. It is possible because putting too much, even of a good thing in the body, we have thresholds. And when you hit that threshold and then you continue to overconsume, that's where the body starts having reactions. So we got to help those people bring those things down to where their body can still, it's helpful for their body. It's not toxic. And so, helping people streamline their supplementation program so that it's most advantageous and they get the most bang for their buck, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, just because something is natural doesn't necessarily mean you can have as much of it as you want. In the pharmacy world, they always talk about minimally effective doses, and probably the same thing with nutritional supplements. That you'll get what you can from your food, and then you supplement what you need to, but not more than you need to.
Exactly, totally.
So, what are some kind of take-home points that you would give to somebody who is feeling kind of off and they think that maybe their nutrition might be a cause? How would they go about finding out what they need?
I think that first thing that we told them is first start cleaning up the diet. We have so many diet crazes right now. There's keto, there's Whole30, there's intermittent fasting, there's the 21-day sugar detox diet. We have all of those things. Give it a whirl, right? Try it, see what happens, see how you feel. Standard Process, that's one of the companies that I utilize a lot of because it's whole food nutrition. We have a 10-day and a 21-day detox. There's so many different ways of doing it. Try it, see if you feel better. Try cutting out, your fast food at lunch for a week or 2 weeks and see if you feel different. Replace that with some whole food. Bring a salad, throw some chicken on it, bring your leftovers from the night before and just see if you feel better. I feel like I lost the rest of your question. I just went, whoop.
That was kind of it, where to start and all the fad diets, for lack of a better word, that you mentioned, Whole30 or keto or South Beach or name your diet.
Yeah.
I think all of them have one thing in common, and that it's, like you said, eating less of that processed stuff and more natural stuff. And granted, each person's probably going to have to tweak it to their individual needs and
totally
maybe reach out to someone to find what they're missing. But that sounds like a great place to start.
Right. Or if you're still lost after that, reach out to a health coach, reach out to somebody who does more nutritional training. There's so many health coaches out there right now, and they're making such a big difference in so many people's lives because they're helping them overcome those initial barriers. People are overwhelmed. It is overwhelming. I didn't know when I started Lean Cuisine, Yoplait were healthy things. Now I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole because I know better. But, I thought I was doing a good thing and I wasn't. So just reach out, ask for help. When you start talking about this, there's so many people out there trying to do good things. Talk to them, let them help you, and then when you're ready to move on to something like what I do, great, come do what I do. There's options. You just have to ask and start looking. And once you start talking to people about it, you'll be amazed at how many people are trying to find what works for them too. So.
Well, thank you for taking the time to be with us. If someone would like to reach out to you, how would they get in contact with you?
Easiest way is phone call or text 314 529-1754. I always tell people I'm not great at email. Sometimes I miss them. I get way too.
She does. It's the truth.
I can't find them all. So phone, text, those are not overwhelmingly obnoxious at these points. And then also you can visit my website. It's alloutnutrition.com. People can reach out to me on there as well. I see those. Phone, website. Those are the best.
Outstanding. Well, thank you for being with us here today, Dr. Sarah.
Yeah,
this is Dr. Sarah Spencer from All Out Nutrition and Wellness. And thank you for joining us on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed what you saw today. And if you liked it, subscribe to our podcast, follow us on Facebook or YouTube, and we hope you listen in for future episodes. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the St. Louis Pain Expert Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you live in the St. Louis area and would like Dr. Candy's help to find a solution to your pain, visit our website at stlpainexpert.com. Email Dr. Candy at dave@stlpainexpert.com or call Dr. Candy's clinical practice, Movement for Life, at 314-941-3970. Movement for Life offers free consultations called discovery visits to people who are serious about discovering how they can relieve their pain and get back to the happy, healthy, and active lifestyle they deserve. If you're listening from outside the St. Louis area but would still like some help, feel free to contact us to learn more about our virtual health coaching. Regardless of where you live, please share our podcast with anyone you know who would benefit from learning more about pain and what can be done to relieve it. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google, Spotify, or your other favorite podcast platform so you get notified when we release a new episode. Thanks again for listening, and we hope you'll enjoy us again soon.